on Cypress Street Radio and AOC Community Media and streaming live on our YouTube channel. This is Local News Live. We do this every weekday as a service to the community in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate. We read articles of local and state news with volunteers. We are currently doing this show from home, and we have an eligible volunteer this morning who also happens to be our executive director. Thank you, Ed, for getting up early and doing this service for this morning and helping us read the news and inform people with what's going on in the community.
Well, it's good to be here to read the news, but I'm not up early. This 9 o'clock is, I'm an old man. I'm one that gets up early and goes to bed at 9 o'clock. Thanks, Mandy. My name is Ed Bowie. I will be reading today in place of our super awesome volunteer, Bruce Cohen, who is off looking for another house to move to in another city, which is a topic for not for the news. I'll be reading from the Morning Advocate, the Acadiana Advocate. Today is September 30th. As I said, my name is Ed Bowie, and I will read in the order these articles were prepared for me. First article is entitled Playing by the Rules. Lafayette Parish releases coronavirus guidelines for high school football games. This was written by our own Katie Gagliano. High school football returns this week, and teams are cheering the opportunity to get back on the field, even if that means adapting to novel coronavirus regulations. Lafayette Parish School System released COVID-19 guidelines for high school football games Monday, mirroring guidance previously released by the Louisiana High School Athletic Association. Most notable change is that stadium capacity will be limited to 25%, reducing the number of fans and family members that can attend and dealing a blow to revenue from ticket sales. Tickets for games will be available on pre-sale only. No game day tickets will be available. Each school is responsible for determining its own pricing, purchase prioritizing, and ticket distribution. Each set of tickets will be assigned to a section or row and a seat number, and there will be a 4-seat distance, which is roughly 6 feet, between each seating group, the school system's release said. Attendees are required to wear a mask, and only prepackaged and sealed items will be sold at concession stands. Bands, cheerleaders, and dance teams will be allowed to perform at home games, but members must wear a mask except when performing on the field, the statement said. Lafayette Christian Academy, the 2019 Division III state champions, is celebrating its home opener Friday against the Class A state champion Acadiana High. This will be the first time a 5A school has played at Knight Stadium, CSA. LCA President Jay Miller said. Miller said after months of uncertainty, the students are relieved to have an opportunity to play. You can see the excitement in their faces and in their eyes. Football is not a seasonal sport. It's every day, all year with these kids. They put their heart and soul into it for 4 years at the high school level. Once they realized the possibility of no season was in front of them, and then you can see that turn into a season, even modified a bit, they were ecstatic, he said. The only disappointed group is the fans, he said. Available tickets plummeted from around 3,000 to 750, with first right of refusal going to the families of football players, cheerleaders, band members, and other students involved in the game. Acadiana High was offered about 200 tickets, Miller said. Knight Field won't have taped off seating areas, but volunteers will be available to help ensure social distances is maintained between groups, and reminders will be made over the loudspeaker asking family to stick with their pods and sit together, he said. Staff and volunteers who normally sell tickets on game day will also be available to help temperature screen guests and complete other tasks. Ticket prices have also been raised from $10 to $20 per game or per ticket to help make up for the revenue loss. That revenue the teams are losing this season. OCA invested $1 million turf field and added 1,200 seats to the stadium and 250 additional parking spots, basing the budget on the previous year's revenues, the president said. LCA was originally projected to make around $40,000 to $50,000 from its game with Acadiana, but now with its limited seating capacity, ticket revenues look to be closer to $10,000 to $15,000. Just part of the new financial reality, Miller said. The seating capacity limitations and some of these things, they are what they are. Whatever we have to do to see these kids get on the field, we're willing to do it, Miller said. Nick Jeffers, Director of Athletics, Education, physical education and health for the school system, said Lafayette public school ticket prices are increasing $2 at most schools to help make up for lost funds. Each school independently determines how to prioritize ticket sales and the maximum number of tickets per student, he said. Some schools are also partnering with VSN Louisiana, a high school sports digital network, to screen their games to fans throughout a monthly subscription service. Each team will have a registration link to earn credit for subscriptions and receive a portion of the proceeds. Jeffers said another way teams are hoping to make money while the physical experience is somewhat limited. Coordinating the season between the district's combination of 4A and 5A schools and the respective stakeholders has been a large undertaking, says Jeffers. But Jeffers said he is confident everything will go smoothly and hopes the teams can give spectators a good show. I think people are craving some sort of normalcy, and I don't know anything more normal than football in the fall, he said. This is an editorial sidebar. That's going to be a really good game, you guys. If you can score a ticket, use it. If you can't score it and you care about high school football, you might tune in to wherever that network is. All right, on to Article 2. This is excitement, homeboy. Black militia coordinates with law enforcement on a Lafayette event. These meetings are held in response to threats made by U.S. Representative Clay Higgins. This is written by Ben Myers. The article begins, a self-described black militia is planning to demonstrate in Lafayette on Saturday in response to U.S. Representative Clay Higgins' recent threats to personally shoot and kill them. The Not Fooling Around, and fooling is not the word, the Not Fooling Around Coalition, which sprang up within the past year, is planning to meet downtown at 4 p.m. at Park Sanssouci. The group is coordinating with local law enforcement authorities, but the specifics of its plan are not clear. The group's founder and leader, John J. Fitzgerald Johnson, said in a Facebook Live forum Monday night that members will not initiate violence or break laws. Johnson says he has met with Lafayette Parish Mayor President Josh Guillory, Sheriff Mark Garber, and city police officials. Garber's spokesman confirmed that the sheriff's office and the Lafayette police will provide security. He declined to provide further details. Guillory's spokesman did not respond to a query. Johnson, speaking with former Lafayette City Parish Councilman Kenneth Boudreau on Facebook Live, demanded that Higgins publicly apologize for posting a picture of Johnson and member of his groups, along with threats to their lives. The picture Higgins posted was from news coverage showing Johnson and others demonstrating in Louisville, Kentucky, in response to the police killing of Breonna Taylor. Higgins did not identify any particular people or groups when making the threats. Referring to the picture, Higgins warned if this shows up in Louisiana, he would drop any 10 of you where you stand, adding that he and other Louisiana residents would eliminate the threat and that the members won't walk away. This is not a challenge, fella. It's a promise. We don't want to see your worthless ass, nor do we want to make your mama cry. Tough guy, Higgins said. Facebook removed the post for violating its terms of service. Johnson, who is also known as Grandmaster J, told Boudreau the congressman's threats blindsided him because his group had not previously focused on Lafayette. In fact, Higgins appeared to be responding to a video made by a Houston activist who is not part of the group. The activist, Mr. Gary Moore, warned Lafayette officials in an August 30th video that the group was on its way to Lafayette in response to the August 21st police killing of Trayford Pellerin. Monroe has joined and helped lead other protests following Pellerin's death. You have a storm coming, Grandmaster J, and the NAFLAC are coming to Lafayette, Louisiana, Monroe said in the video. Higgins' post came 2 days later, and Johnson said he soon started receiving confusing calls. Quote, people said, why is this congressman threatening you? And I said, no congressman has threatened me. I have no idea what you're talking about, Johnson told Boudreau. And then I found out he was actually threatening me because he thought I was someone else. He thought I was a gentleman out of Houston who had no affiliation with us. Monroe said in another video Monday night that he had miscommunicated and he expressed support for Johnson and his group, yet he also said he found Johnson's comments to Boudreau disrespectful and did not aspire to be part of the group. Monroe did not respond to Facebook messages on Tuesday, and attempts to call him have been unsuccessful. Whatever the mix-up that led to Lafayette getting on this group's radar, Johnson said Higgins needs to apologize in public. I will make you the center of a nightly news. This is a quote. I will make you the center of nightly news for the next 6 months. I got nothing better else to focus on. You're going to apologize to me, and you're going to apologize to my organization. If you choose not to do it, we're going to come to you, to your town, and make it so uncomfortable for you that your constituents are going to beg you to apologize, Johnson said on Facebook Live. Higgins' spokesman did not respond to a query on Tuesday. Not much is known about the group beyond what Johnson has said about it. He told Bidrow that the group is a, quote, structured, organized militia composed mostly of U.S. military veterans. He did not say how many members it has or how many he expects to be in Lafayette. He said the group has a threefold mission focusing on supporting Black people, protection, self-policing, and education. As he asked before, Johnson said the militia is not part of any protest or demonstration group. The organization welcomes such groups at its events as long as they stay apart from the armed militia members. Johnson also claims the Southern Poverty Law Center had determined the group was the fourth largest militia in the United States, but it is not clear what he was referring to. The spokesman said the Southern Poverty Law Center has become aware of Johnson's group this year, but he has not designated it as a militia group. Give you the repeat. The highlights is that group is supposed to be at Park Sanssouci on Saturday afternoon at 4. Clay Higgins has vowed to keep them out of town, and we get to sit back and watch what happens. Okay, next article. This is written by Melinda Deslot. Title: Rental aid program is slow to deliver. Lawmakers slam the delay as disastrous. This is an Associated Press article. $24 million rental aid program Governor John Bel Edwards announced in July for people facing eviction because of coronavirus-related wage losses has committed less than one-third of the assistance promised, even though demand was so high that applications were suspended within days. The slow pace of aid is drawing criticism from State Representative Jack McFarland, a Winsfield Republican who called the program management by the Louisiana Housing Corporation, quote, disastrous. Only 160 tenants have seen money paid into their landlords, according to the information provided Tuesday by the governor's office. We got 40,000 applicants out there who have said, we need help, and submitted their paperwork. McFarland said, we've got the money in the bank to help them. The governor's office said McFarland's criticisms contained inaccurate information, such as the source of the financing of the program, and suggested that focusing on the small number of payments made to landlords on behalf of its tenants is misleading. Though only about 400,000 rental payments have been made, Edwards' spokesperson Shauna Sanford said $7 million has been obligated. She said that was to protect over 3,000 families from eviction, even if the dollars haven't been turned over to landlords. These people are not getting kicked out of their homes. They've already been in touch with their landlords, but they need to complete the application process, Sanford said. Edwards said in mid-July that Louisiana would offer $24 million in emergency rental assistance to low-income residents faced with the threat of eviction because their paychecks took a hit during the coronavirus outbreak. Louisiana Housing Corporation started taking applications for the program that day with federal dollars to finance the program. Demand was so great that more than 40,000 renters quickly started the application process that the housing agency stopped accepting applications within 4 days. The program has $19 million of the $24 million in federal housing planned to spend on emergency rental aid, Sanford said. The remaining $5 million is expected in October. The governor's office blamed federal restrictions on the housing dollars and incomplete applications for the slow pace of aid. I'm sorry, folks. Due to the burdensome and complex federal regulations and the delay in applicant response, it often takes longer than we would like. But efforts are being made to streamline the process as much as federal requirements will allow, Sanford said. The governor's office responded to the Associated Press for requests for information about McFarland's criticism and provided updated rental aid figures after repeated requests for information from the Louisiana Housing Corporation went unanswered. Rather than respond to questions, agency spokesman Natasha Nat said in an email that the housing agency planned to release a statement later this week, quote, about the status of the program. McFarland said he learned of the new low number of payments as he looked for ways to steer more dollars to the rental assistance program in the legislature's special session. Quote, but how do you put more money into something when you find out that it's not so much money sitting there unspent, he said. The lawmaker said the Edwards administration told him is working on ways to move the money out more quickly. When the program was announced, the housing agency estimated the program would be able to serve about 10,000 tenants. To be eligible, a person must have lost income because of COVID-19, be at risk of eviction, and have income that is at or below 30% of the area's median income. That's $13,000 for a single family household or $19,300 for a family of four. Anyone who receives government assistance, housing assistance, is ineligible. So to give you a brief summary of that, the housing assistance that the state has promised is slow to move out because the application process is too complicated. That's not news to anybody. Editorial comments aside. Take a brief 1 minute coffee slurp. Be right with you. All right, everybody, we're back. Here again, we're reading for the Morning Advocate. Today's September 30th. This headline is Official Attempts to Fire the Council's Attorney. The panel reader says City Parish Attorney doesn't have the authority. This is written by Claire Cook. I'm sorry, not Claire Cook. She is a council person. This was written by Claire Taylor, who is an excellent journalist. Here's the article. Lafayette City Parish Attorney Greg Logan attempted last week to terminate the City Council Special Attorney, but City Council Chairman Pat Lewis fired back, saying Logan has no authority to do so. Emails and letters obtained by the Acadiana Advocate detailed the latest episode in a struggle pitting the Lafayette Council against City Parish President Josh Guillory and his legal team and the Parish Council regarding authority over city tax dollars and interpreting the Home Rule Charter. The City Council hired Leanne Batson of Baton Rouge as a special counsel September 1st. Logan has advised the council that its actions may be in violation of the Home Rule Charter and illegal. Guillory vetoed the city ordinance in which the council hired Batson, but the council overrode that veto on September 15th. A week later, on September 24th, in a September 24th letter, Logan told Batson that she was terminated. He advised Batson in a September 18th letter to provide him with a copy of her contract, along with other research and documents supporting the council's argument that it had the authority to hire its own attorney. Logan said Batson did not provide the documents or respond to his request. A contract he obtained from the council clerk along with the ordinance, Logan wrote, are null and void for various reasons. He has opined that the charter says the city of Lafayette, not the city council, is authorized to hire special counsel, but only with a written contract with special services approved by the council. The ordinance states the city council was hiring Batson, he said. Logan said the contract and the ordinance also are not valid because they usurp his authority as legal advisor to the city and city council. Further, he wrote, any special counsel serves under him, and Batson's refusal to respond to my inquiry as purported special counsel is a flagrant violation of the charter and further evidence of the unlawfulness of the ordinance and the contract. Pat Lewis responded in a September 25th email that Logan did not have the right to fire Batson, quote, for any reason. He attached a copy of the 1993 ordinance when the pre-consolidation city council hired a special counsel to ensure the city's home rule charter, along with city council ordinances and strict resolutions, were properly administered. So we have a little infighting amongst lawyers about who gets to be the lawyer for the rest of us. Ain't that cool? Next article. This is heartwarming in a sense. UL welcomes additional McNeese students after a hurricane. The on-campus services are available across the entire university system, written by Ken Stickney. University of Louisiana at Lafayette is fast becoming a home away from home for many McNeese State University students. After Hurricane Laura hit August the 27th, McNeese students were unable to return to the Lake Charles campus. Much of the campus remains under repair, and no classes will be held there until at least the spring semester. McNeese classes are being offered remotely only because they are online. Though they can be taken from almost any location. Remote instruction resumed on September 18th. Tammy Gessman, a spokesman for the University of Louisiana system, said, "For academic success, some students need access to computer labs, internet, libraries, and other resources only provided on a campus." 2 weeks ago, the system initiated the Cowboy Relief Effort, named after McNeese sports teams, which connects students who are displaced from the storm with resources at McNeese's 8 sister campuses in the UL system. The UL system in the UL school system, in addition to McNeese, or ULL Lafayette, Nicholls State and Thibodaux, the University of New Orleans, Southeastern University, Louisiana University in Hammond, Northwestern State University in Natchitoches, Grambling State University in Lincoln Parish, Louisiana Tech University, and the University of Louisiana at Monroe. Quote, "This effort is an opportunity to provide a sense of normalcy for those students whose semesters, already impacted by COVID-19, are turned upside down by Hurricane Laura. Coming together in support of our own is a valued strength of this system," said System President Jim Henderson in a statement. About 213 McNeese students have registered for the Cowboy Relief, sometimes at more than one UL campus, to avail themselves of the services they need. Gessman said 183 have registered for the Cowboy Relief at UL Lafayette. As part of Cowboy Relief, university presidents signed a memorandum of understanding agreeing to provide McNeese students with access to campus resources such as Wi-Fi, libraries, computer labs, recreation centers, campus dining options, counseling, and other health services. For example, Gessman said, Ashley Sieben, a senior in agricultural education at McNeese, lives in Jackson Parish in northern Louisiana. While living there, she has accessed campus resources at the University of Louisiana at Monroe, about 40 miles away, and at Louisiana Tech University. Quote, "The university has been so welcoming and accepting, and I actually feel like a college student again, thanks to them," Sieben said. Gessman said the UL system learned a lot about the digital divide when its campuses closed down because of the pandemic on the spring semester. Courses continued remotely in the spring, but some students who returned to their home parishes, especially in rural Louisiana, found libraries and internet access were not necessarily accessible. "We had students who did 5 or 10 page papers on their iPhones," she said. That's rough. UL Lafayette spokesman Eric Marin said more than 50 MEC students. Let me start that over, folks. UL Lafayette spokesman Eric Marin said more than 50 McNeese students are living in the UL dorms, taking their McNeese courses remotely. Students traveling to the campus, including the additional 183 students signed up for Cowboy Relief, are eligible to use campus dining halls, libraries, computer labs, Wi-Fi, and more. "We want to help our neighbors," Marin said of UL Lafayette, the closest UL system school to McNeese. "We're doing what we can to help." He said the additional students on campus cause no problems. Lines for services are not affected, and facilities such as the library can easily accommodate everyone. Marin said the McNeese basketball team was on the Lafayette campus this week for orientation. The team will live at UL Lafayette and practice there. They're wearing their McNeese shirts and carrying their UL Lafayette folders, he said. So that's kind of good of us to reach out to our neighbors and so forth. All righty. It seems like we're zooming through this. Next article, 2020 legislative special session. Bill giving legislators oversight of the virus rules advances. The measure would create a panel to oversee the governor's emergency declarations. Sam Carlin is our writer in this case, in a sidebar editorial. I wish we could talk about this. I'm just supposed to read it. A legislative panel on Tuesday advanced legislation that would give lawmakers oversight, but not an up and down vote, over the governor's emergency declarations, a response to complaints by Republican lawmakers that they are being sidelined by John Bell's Edwards' administration on coronavirus restrictions. Meanwhile, House Speaker Clay Schexnayder filed a resolution that, if passed, would nullify Edwards' entire emergency declaration until a month after the special session ends in late October, effectively lifting all coronavirus restrictions. The move comes on the first full day of a month-long special session in which Republican lawmakers have prioritized, among other things, giving themselves a voice in Edwards' coronavirus rules. Schexnayder said in an interview, this resolution mirrors a petition circulated by conservative House members, which he thinks would avoid legal challenges that that effort could bring. While he is working on a bill that is similar to the one passed by the Senate Judiciary B's committee on Tuesday, giving lawmakers oversight over the emergency declarations, Schexnayder said it's important to have the resolution ready to move through the process. It's just a tool in our toolbox, he said. We need to be able to work and maneuver through the session. Snyder, a Gonzales Republican, said it's a good negotiating point to have. Senate Bill 29, brought by Senate President Page Cortez, actually makes it more difficult to cancel the governor's emergency declaration via petition, which is a priority of conservative Republicans who disagree with Edwards' restriction. The bill requires a petition to win the majority of both chambers, not just one, in order to nullify the order. It also creates a new legislative panel of 10 lawmakers that Edwards or future governors would have to notify before extending emergency declaration beyond 30 days. At least 8 of those members would be Republicans under the current makeup of the legislature. The panel would also hold hearings, but it would not have the power to reject the emergency proclamation. Cortez, a Lafayette Republican, said that he and the co-author, Senator Patrick McMath, initially gave the committee the ability to reject such orders in an early draft of the bill, but they decided the governor should have the power to issue emergency declarations because Cortez said it was the role of the executive branch. I don't think it's our job to tell the governor what to do, Cortez says, but there are certain checks and balances that we ought to have in place. This bill mandates oversight of emergency orders, McMath, a Republican from Covington, said. Edwards has rejected the idea that the legislature should have authority over his ability to make emergency declarations. On Tuesday, Edwards spokesman Christina Stevens said, the governor has been clear that you cannot manage a public health emergency, especially not a global pandemic like COVID-19, by committee. The committee's approval is just one step in a long legislative process, and it must pass through the House, where conservatives have railed against Edwards' restrictions and sought to cancel the emergency order. The vote came on the first full day of the session, called by Republicans to address what the GOP leaders have said are 4 main issues. They're going to try for Hurricane Laura relief, Edwards emergency powers, coronavirus relief, and the state's depleted unemployment trust fund. Other committees on Tuesday temporarily shelved several bills to give tax breaks to businesses. And Cortez said lawmakers will file legislation to suspend a law that requires unemployment benefits to be cut and taxes on businesses to be raised when the unemployment fund falls below a certain threshold. The state law requires that the Revenue Estimating Conference to predict how much money the unemployment fund will have for the following year by September 30th. That's today, folks, which would set it in motion, the tax hike and a rate cut by January 1st. But despite the new law, the conference punted until the end of the month on Tuesday. We're going to buy some time in the legislative session to mitigate the impact on employers and those receiving benefits, Cortez said. But the emergency powers debate, evidenced Tuesday by the Senate Judiciary B Committee, is expected to be a key feature of the session. Several petitions to nullify Louisiana's emergency declaration, thereby ending all coronavirus restrictions, are circulating, and a host of lawmakers have filed bills aimed at Edwards' rules, many of them giving the legislature power to reject his declarations. Several Republican lawmakers have described the petitions as a last resort option that some see as a negotiating tactic. The House GOP can't override Edwards' veto without help from Democrats and independents, but the petition could hang over his head as he decides what he wants to do with the bills. Several of the bills about emergency powers will get their final hearing Wednesday in the House and Governmental Affairs Committee. We have several different bills out there, and out there are different things, Sheck Snyder said. We're going to look at them all and see what's the best path to take. Skepticism reigns. Okay. Teacher pay in Louisiana falls further behind states. This is written by Wasintel. The gap between average pay for teachers in Louisiana and the southern region average shot up by 74% in the past year, according to the latest snapshot released on Tuesday. Teachers in Louisiana paid an average of $50,293 for the 2018-19 school year, compared with $54,930 across the 16-state region, a gap of $4,007. During the previous school year, teachers in Louisiana were paid an average of $51,403, compared with $53,704 in other states, a gap of only $2,306, according to the Southern Regional Education Board in Atlanta. The regional average is a long time and elusive state goal. Governor John Bel Edwards has vowed to reach the average before he finishes his second term in 2024, and the governor earlier this year proposed raises of $500 a year for teachers after a $1,000 increase last year, but the coronavirus pandemic killed a $500 push when the state revenue plummeted, and whether a renewed push will happen in 2021 is unclear. In addition to the $1,000 raises that won legislative approval in 2019, they were on the low end compared to what other states were already doing. It equals to basically the cost of living raise that would have happened in other professions, says Megan Boren, who studies teacher salaries and other issues for the board. Pay in South Carolina last year rose by up to 10%, $3,000 in Georgia, $2,000 in Florida, according to the survey. The previous year's salary in Oklahoma rose by 18% after a teacher walkout won national attention. Shane Riddle, Director of Legislative and Political Affairs for Louisiana Association of Educators, noted that Louisiana has been chasing that regional average for years. Quote, if the legislature doesn't fix the problem and do something about it, we're going to continue to fall way behind and suffer as a state. The bottom line is the legislature needs to make it a priority, and John Bel Edwards needs to make it a priority. The average teacher salary nationally in 2018 and 19 is $58,540. Louisiana is ranked 11th in the 16-state region for what it pays its teachers. We're ahead of Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, West Virginia, and South Carolina. Maryland is on top of the region with an average teacher pay of $70,463. Larry Carter, president of the Louisiana Federation of Teachers, said while teachers are handling virtual lessons and other new chores because of the pandemic, more federal aid for state and local governments could come to the aid. Let me start that paragraph again. Sorry, folks. Larry Carter, president of the Louisiana Federation of Teachers, said while teachers are handling the virtual learning and other new chores because of the pandemic, more federal aid for state and local governments could aid educators is in doubt. Keith Corville, executive director of the Associated Professional Educators of Louisiana, said competitive pay is needed to enhance student learning. We're losing too many talented teachers to neighboring states, Corville said in an email. The report comes on the heels of a separate study by the State Department of Education that shows 12% of teachers, roughly 5,700, left their profession in 18-19. The national average is 8%. State Superintendent of Education, Cade Brumley, said what is especially striking is the fact that 44% of teachers quit in their first 5 years in the classroom from 16 to 19. That should be a big flag to us as a state that we actually need to look at investing in new teaching programs and support and trying to determine what exactly we need to do so that we can attain more of our entry-level teachers, Brumley said. Brumley said the teaching shortage includes minority educators. He said Hispanic teachers account for just 2% of the workforce, a total of 878 teachers. On any given year, the Jefferson Parish school system alone sees an influx of 1,500 to 2,000 Hispanic students. We really need to look at how we can increase the diversity of our teaching workforce to more accurately reflect the students they serve. Okay, that's the end of the article. Looking at the clock, I'm just damn near halfway through this, folks. Hope you're sticking with me. I appreciate it. Once again, my name is Ed. This is a public service of AOC Community Media. We're reading from the Acadiana section edition of the Morning Advocate. Next article, the report 38% of Louisiana hotel jobs have been lost, written by Timothy Boone. A new report says 38% of Louisiana hotel jobs have been lost as a result of the coronavirus pandemic, and another 32% of workers could be unemployed in several months if Congress doesn't take steps to give the industry some relief. The American Hotel and Lodging Association on Tuesday released a state-by-state breakdown of the effects of the pandemic has had in the industry, a week after it announced a survey of more than 1,000 hotel owners, operators, and employees, in which 67% said their business will be able to last only 6 more months at current projected and revenue occupancy rates. According to the report, of the 37,797 hotel jobs in Louisiana, 14,400 have been lost as of September. If there is no aid from Congress, a total of 26,000 jobs could be lost. The report also said 870 hotels in Louisiana pre-pandemic, 479 faced foreclosure without aid, and 655 could close if there is no help. Chip Rogers, chief executive officer of the Hotel Association, said although Congress did a fantastic job early on in setting up the Paycheck Protection Program that gave forgivable loans to businesses, it's time for the next step. According to Rogers, $150 billion that had been approved for the program remains unborrowed and unspent. He said he wants Congress to use the money for another round of aid directly aimed at the businesses most affected by the pandemic levels, hotel and tourism. Another $500 billion is available. That's $500 billion is available in unused funds from the Federal Reserve's Main Street Lending Program, a loan program that Rogers said didn't help the industry at all. We're heading into the lean times for the industry, he said. The business centered around tourism need help just to get to the other side. The industry can make it if we can just get to next spring and summer. If they can't, there will be a lot of unnecessary pain. Mark Romig, Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer for New Orleans. Let me read that again. Mark Romig, Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer for New Orleans and Company, the city's nonprofit tourism promotion association, said any federal assistance for hotel and tourism industry would be appreciated. This can help fuel the messaging that we need to get out all around the nation, he said. Two-thirds of New Orleans hotels are operating with limited capacity. Occupancy rates haven't been above 50% since March, dipping down into the single digits for some summer weekdays. Normal hotel occupancy rates in New Orleans are in the 60% to 80% range during the summer, and for some big events such as Essence Festival, the city is sold out. Paul Argo, President and Chief Executive Officer to Visit Baton Rouge, said he thought the Hotels Association numbers were a little high. As of last week, Argo said less than 10% of the hotel inventory in Metro Baton Rouge has closed as a result of the pandemic. That includes properties such as the Belle of Baton Rouge's hotel, which was temporarily shut down for renovations and is set to reopen in 2021. Baton Rouge hotel market has been aided by people displaced by Hurricane Laura and workers who have come in to help with the cleanup. Governor John Bel Edwards' office said that there are still several hundred hotel rooms being occupied by people affected by the hurricane. But Argo said Visit Baton Rouge has not been able to verify those statistics. Ben Berthelot, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Lafayette Convention and Visitors Commission, said he thinks the Hotels Association numbers fit in with what he has seen in his market. Acadiana has been hit by a double whammy of the pandemic and crashing oil prices, which has greatly reduced the demand for hotel rooms. Not only is occupancy below 50% until Laura hit, but the revenues were off because the properties had to charge lower room rates to lure visitors, he said. Lafayette area hotel rooms were sold out for the 3 weeks after Laura, but Berthelot said there are starting to be some vacancies. It was a shot in the arm, but those losses, it was a shot in the arm, but still not enough to make up for the losses those hotels had. Okay, we are now on to an article. This is out of New Orleans, venturing a little far from home, but we're going to read this anyway. Details emerge as the New Orleans Police Department molestation case. The officer met the victim driving her to the hospital for a sexual assault exam. Good Lord. This is written by Raymond Antonio Vargas. Rodney Victor was the first New Orleans police officer to arrive at the scene when a 15-year-old girl reported being sexually assaulted. He then drove the teen and her mother to the hospital for a physical examination. But in later calls and meetings, his own agency says, Victor began showering the girl with compliments about her body, asked her for her underwear, and fondled her chest in between her legs. The allegations are contained in a sworn statement filed in court to support of the New Orleans Police Department's decision to jail Victor, a 53-year-old, 13-year police veteran who was arrested last week in his home near Slidell. According to the statement that police filed, Victor is the first responding officer when a 15-year-old reported a sexual assault, an incident that appeared to have occurred within the past year. While driving the girl and her mother to Children's Hospital for examination, colloquially known as a rape kit, he stayed in touch with the girl and began communicating with her on the telephone and via social media, police alleged. Citing the girl's recollection, police say Victor started giving her hugs and grabbing her buttocks. He allegedly received pictures of the girl clad in a bikini and a bodysuit via social media app Snapchat, and he said the images were hot and aroused him. He allegedly began asking the girl to have sex. The girl recalled that Victor came to her home in New Orleans on December 23rd, summoned her to his truck, and reached under her skirts, police alleged. She said that she climbed back into the truck. She asked her for her underwear and fondled her between her legs, police said. The girl reported Victor's behavior during her forensic interview at Children's Hospital on Friday. A segment from the Police Integrity Bureau obtained a warrant to book Victor that night, and deputies in St. Tammany Parish soon arrested him. He faces one count of sexual battery, indecent behavior with a juvenile, malfeasance, and abuses his position as a public service. All are felonies that collectively carry as long as 23 years in prison upon conviction. His attorney, Townsend Myers, would not comment on the case. Victor joined the police department after 19 years as an emergency medical technician. He worked in the first police district, which patrols areas including Mid-City and Tremé, and for his entire time at the agency. He also served as a field training officer who mentors recruits coming out of the police academy. In a statement over the weekend, Superintendent Sean Ferguson called the allegations of against Victor reprehensible and noted that the department's quick arrest. He has been transferred from St. Tammany Parish lockup to New Orleans jail since his arrest on Friday, and a magistrate commissioner has set his bail at $55,000. Victor, who's been suspended from his job pending completion of the investigation, has not made bail as of Tuesday and remains behind bars. God, that was a hard one. I think we're going to skip this article. It's not relevant. Excuse me while I search a little bit more. Here we go, a little sports time, written by Kevin Foote. Taking stock. Raging Cajuns' early report card is buoyed by a 3-0 record. After 2 close calls to open Sudden Belt Conference play with an overtime road win and another one in the last play of the game, the UL Raging Cajuns needed a bit of a breather. For the next 2 Saturdays, there won't be any need for any nail-biting from UL fans. The short break serves 2 purposes. For one, it could help the Cajuns get healthier, both injury and coronavirus-wise. Second, it gives a little more preparation time for the big game of the year when the Cajuns travel to meet their Sun Belt nemesis, Appalachian State, at 6:30 next Wednesday on ESPN. For the rest of us, it's an opportunity to assess what we've witnessed so far out of Coach Billy Napier's club during the program's first 3-0 start since 1988. That's a quick 41 years, folks. Listen to any of Napier's interviews over the past 3 weeks, and it's no secret he's not yet satisfied with his team's level of play, but he loves the intangibles. It's easy to see Napier's point. The production by most of his units hasn't yet met up to preseason expectations. With that said, there are good reasons for some of these struggles, and yet so let's survey the depth chart. At quarterback, senior quarterback Louis Levi has his share of challenges, including 3 new starters on the offensive line and a ton of new faces in the receiving corps. On paper, Lewis, who was 52 of 98 passes for 723 yards and 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Lewis only threw 4 interceptions all of last season and only 3 after his first pass of the season. The biggest knock so far on Lewis is throwing interceptions in the 2 minutes before halftime at Georgia State and against Georgia Southern. He also kept his composure and led the offense each time it was necessary to a 28-18 or 20-18 comeback on Saturday. Lewis is 14-3 over the past 2 seasons, and that's really all a quarterback needs to worry about. His grade is a B-. The running backs. No unit had more hype than this one coming into the season. The statistics may not show it, but there's no reason to feel any less about any of Eliza Mitchell, Trey Regis, and Chris Smith. Like any good trio, each one has had their moments in the first 3 games. Mitchell rushed for 164 yards and scored the game-winning touchdown in week 2, but was not available last week. That meant that Regis, who had to carry the load, and he did, rushing for 52 yards and a score and catching 4 passes for 52 yards. Meanwhile, Smith had the 95-yard touchdown return against Iowa State, caught a touchdown pass in Atlanta before leaving last week's game with an ankle injury. Has the running game been dominant? Nope, but it's hard to blame the backs for that just yet. Grade is a B. Wide receivers. Grading this group is probably unfair after just 3 games. Don't forget that Caliph Gossett, Jamal Bell, Cassius Allen, and Brian Smith were supposed to play key roles, and none of them made it into the season opener. That placed a lot of pressure on the well-regarded newcomers. True freshman Dante Fleming earned a starting spot in camp, but has battled injuries. Sophomore Pete LeBlanc has emerged as the bell cow, and senior Jalen Williams has been a consistent threat. Karen Lacey, Aaron Rodgers, Devon Polley have all made their moments. Napier repeatedly harping on precision and an indication the rookies weren't there just yet. Don't be surprised, though, if this grade is considerably higher by Thanksgiving. The grade is a C. Offensive line. August was all about praising the offensive line. The talk that it was going to be somehow be better than last year's unit, which powered a rushing attack that finished 4th nationally in rushing touchdowns, 3rd nationally in yards per carry, and 7th in total yards. It was also 5th in fewest sacks allowed. So far, it hasn't worked out that way. Lewis hasn't been under siege, but he doesn't look comfortable. The running game has been spotty, and there are too many penalties. Time for an improvement, and the personnel is there to do so. Grade is a C. Tight end. There was hope this position could produce more receptions this season, but that's not likely. Johnny Lumpkin's return is slow after missing last season, and Neil Johnson hadn't been in Napier's plans for off-season reasons. He has 3 grabs for 23 yards. Hunter Bergeron, 1 for 8. Blocking is fine, but the receptions are few. Grade C. Defensive line. The addition of Traylon Humphrey has been as advertised. Savon Hill is back and has 13 tackles. Andre Jones continues to be athletic and apply pressure. Health has been an issue at a time for this group, but Napier suggested there was more depth than it's showing. They just need to stay healthy. That's a letter B. Get a B for those guys. Pardon 1 second. Have a little coffee shot here. Okay. Linebacker. This unit has been hard hit by health issues, particularly on the edge, but the inside guys have been great. Lorenzo McCaskill leads the nation with 36 tackles, and Farrod Gardner, who has been the National Defensive Player in the week of the opener. If Joe Dillon, Chris Moncrief, and Chauncey Manick can return and play to their potential, this might end up being the best unit on the team. They get a grade A. Secondary. Cornerback play has been good, and that's all A.J. Washington missing the past 2 big games. Malik Gardner has stepped up big time, especially with the game-changing interception that turned the tide at Georgia State. Braylon Trahan is off to a good start with 17 tackles, 2 pass breakups, and an interception. There's no question how good safety Pace. There is no questioning how good safety Percy Butler is defensively, and in the kicking game, Cam. I'm going to say this one is Prestillo has also made big plays, grade A-. The special teams, no, it hasn't been perfect. 4 field goals have been missed, but you can argue the 2 scoring returns won the game at Ohio State, and Nate Snyder's field goal won the 3rd game. Hard to argue with special teams largely on account of 2 wins in 3 games, and he's going to give those guys an A+. All right, the bad news now. We're going to read the list of some of the people, funerals that will be happening today in the Acadiana area. John Glisclair will be at St. John the Evangelist at 10 p.m. Alfred Pete will be at St. Martin and Castile downtown at 11:30. Obituary office hours are from 9 to 5. And that is the only 2 that are in today's paper. It doesn't seem quite right for funerals. Let's do a little fun today in history. Today in history, on September 30th of 1938, after co-authoring the Munich Agreement following the Nazi annexation of Czechoslovakia Sudetenland, British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain said, "I believe it will be peace in our time." Peace in our time. That's a funny thing. In 1777, the Continental Congress, forced to flee in the face of advancing British forces, moved to York, Pennsylvania. In 1912, the Columbia School of Journalism held its first classes. 1939, the first college football game to be televised was shown on an experimental station, W2XBS, in New York, as Fordham University defeated Waynesboro College 34-7. 1949, the year of my birth, the Berlin airlift came to an end. Bummer. James Dean, age 24, died in a 2-car collision in 1955. 1962, James Meredith, a black student, was escorted by federal marshals into the campus of the University of Mississippi, where he enrolled for classes. The next day, Meredith's president sparked rioting that claimed 2 lives. In 1972, Roberto Clemente hit a double against John Matlack of the New York Mets, giving Pittsburgh a 5-3 victory at Three River Stadium. The hit was his 3,000th and his last for the Pirates star. Some pretty good stuff went on in this day in history. In 2014, the first Ebola case was diagnosed in the United States on a patient who had recently traveled from Liberia to Dallas. And California governor on this day in 2014, Governor Jerry Brown signed the nation's first statewide ban on single-use plastic bags at grocery and convenience stores. 10 years ago, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton called Guatemalan leaders to apologize for the U.S. 1940s experiments that infected occupants of Guatemala mental hospital with syphilis, apparently to test the effectiveness of penicillin against some sexually transmitted diseases. That's your country at work, folks. I'm scouring along here. I don't know how much of this you can put up with out there, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. think we're going to read the Zodiac, and after that, I think we're going to call it quits. Today on the Zodiac, if you happen to be a Libra, listen attentively to find a way to deal with unreasonable people. Charm will help you motivate someone to see things your way. An energetic approach to love and teamwork will pay off. Scorpio, if you get more involved with the social media, you'll connect with some people who stimulate your mind, expand your knowledge and skills to develop in a way to improve your life. Sagittarians, problems will surface if you let an outsider interfere with your personal life. The less time you have to debate, the easier it is to avoid setbacks. You Capricorn fellas out there today, uncertainty will stand between you and your goals. Speak up and discuss your intentions with someone you can count on for practical advice. Aquarius, pay attention to your personal needs and relationships. What you do will be more meaningful than what you say. Don't feel that you must take part in someone else's plan. Excuse me, friends. Helping others, this is Pisces guys out there, listen up. Helping others will lead to mixed emotions. Taking physical action and making things happen will get you farther than arguing. Stay focused and passionate and forge ahead with enthusiasm. Aries, pay attention to what's happening around you, but don't get involved with other people's battles. Channel your energy into self-improvement and learning. Avoid fruitless battles. Taurus, your changeable attitude will be confusing to some. Be careful when dealing with children or loved ones. If you show uncertainty, it will cause friction and loss of control. Gemini, don't be fooled by what others say or do. A colleague will be seeking to dismantle your reputation. Don't share personal information. Cancer, take a moment to calm down. Anger will not help you solve a problem you encounter with someone opposing your lifestyle or habits. Intelligence will help you prevail. Leo, put your energy into something that will help you earn more money. Hard work will keep you out of trouble and lead to financial gain. A domestic confrontation will leave you in a vulnerable position. And last but not least, Virgos, one of whom I am loved with and living with at the moment. Change begins with you. Consider the past, present what you want to strive. I'm going to read that over, folks. Virgos, change begins with you. Consider the past, present, and what you want to achieve into the future. The healthy attitude and the ability to bring about change will encourage better relationships and prosperity. This horoscope is an entertainment feature, not based on scientific fact. I hope I didn't have to tell you that. All right, we're going to call it a day here. This has been a reading of the Lafayette Acadiana Advocate out of Baton Rouge. My name has been Ed Bowie. We hope to see you again tomorrow, where we'll have another edition of reading for the reading impaired. If you have articles or information you'd like to share, you can send that to us. The info at aocinc.org. Go there. You can send us information. Or email us information. Glad to share that with the public for you. 232-4434 if you have a phone call. And then other than that, have a great day. This has been Ed Bowie, and I'm signing out of here. Take care.